2021 Monday night city council meeting. Will you please join me in the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If it's okay with everyone, I'm going to take my mask off. I have been vaccinated. Just because of the fact of the muffled noise. Is anyone opposed to that? Because if you are, I will keep my mask on. Okay. Nope. And once I get up, I will put my mask back on. All right. Can we have an approval for the minutes for the March 1st meeting?
So moved.
I'll second.
John?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Mary? Yes. Next up is hearing of public concerns. Do we have anyone? Is there anyone on the call, Mayor?
Terry, did you want to speak now, or are you on for the building ordinance?
Yeah, now would be fine. I'm sorry I wasn't quite prepared yet, but this is the order we're going in. So I just wanted to make reference to the new ordinance that it looks like it's going to be read.
Terry?
I can't hear you.
Terry,
Yes.
can you speak just a little louder for us?
Louder.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can. Is that better?
Yes.
Yes.
Loud usually isn't my problem, but I just wanted to reference the ordinance that looks like it's going to be read tonight and address the council about being a business owner in downtown Bryan. My fear is that that ordinance would possibly stifle the ability to do more business. I understand the reasoning for it. I read through it, and as I was going through it, it's like it's not a horrible idea, but what else could we come up with to not lay another form of government in me as a business owner's way to do business? So it's just really hard to accomplish things. And then the timelines that they're laying out on us, it would be really hard to accomplish projects that look like there was 90-day windows for certain things. And I would ask that if you're going to move forward with it, that you consider at least consulting with I'm trying to remodel a building now, and it is miserable and very, very expensive. So if you would just watch that, I would greatly appreciate it. And thanks for your time.
Thank you, Terry. Is there anyone else, Mayor?
Not that I know of, not online.
Okay. Lori, would you go ahead and read item number 3, please?
The council started the veterans of the Clerk-Treasurer's report for the month ending February 28, 2021.
I move to approve.
I'll second.
Judy?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes. Lori, will you please read number 4?
Ordinance number 14, 2021, an ordinance providing for the transfer of funds for the city of Bryan for the month ending April 30th, 2021. This is a transfer request from the 1% income tax fund to the 101 general fund for general spending purposes of $400,000. A transfer of $150,000 from the 1% income tax fund to the 203 street department fund for general spending purposes. A transfer of $450,000 from the 0.5% income tax fund to the 401 capital improvement fund for ongoing projects. A transfer of $290,000 from the 502 water fund to the 525 water capital reserve fund as requested by the DORA and Board of Public Affairs at their earlier meeting in March. And the transfer request also from the communication fund of $53,510 to the 535 communications capital reserve fund, which was also requested from the earlier Board of Public Affairs meeting. Total amount of transfers requested, $1,343,510.
I move to suspend.
I'll second.
John?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Move to adopt.
I'll second.
Rick?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes. Lori, will you please read item number 5, an ordinance?
Ordinance number 15, 2021. Ordinance to establish a vacant building storefront enforcement program.
Good evening. It's been a while.
Yes.
So, tonight we're before you, to bring this vacant building and storefront ordinance. This has been in the works for a while. Some of you were at the Heritage Ohio, years back, where they suggested this. This was presented to us, last year, and we finally decided to bring it forward. The plan we were originally submitted, we revised, and this is what we have come up with. Mayor?
Yep, working on it, sorry.
Okay.
I haven't had to do this in so long. I think that's as small as we're gonna go. So put this on. All right, can you kind of see it? If I move this over here, then we're gonna be better. There you go.
You want to go ahead and start the slideshow?
Oh, I'd love to. I don't know why I won't.
Kind of give you a brief overview of how we foresee this going and answer any questions you might have.
I know, it won't let me run it, Andy. We have a little
Click
issue.
slideshow up at the top tab there
Yep, got it.
from the beginning.
Got
There we
it.
go. All right, the whole reason for this is to ensure that storefronts are being utilized. Go ahead, does it hit spacebar?
I did, it disappeared. Technology's amazing until it's not, guys. Let me see how
Well, text was supposed to pop up there.
that- I know. We can't do that either.
Well, I'll go ahead and wing it.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Andy.
To start out, vacant storefronts will be identified, certified letters will be sent to vacant storefronts with the registration form. They will have 30 days then to submit said registration form back. They will have 90 days to actively try to get somebody to fill said vacant storefront or building. There are exemptions if they are actively trying to rent or sell the building or storefront. We can grant a 90-day extension, which would give them 6 months from the initial letter. I'm assuming that was Mr. Rummel that called in. If a storefront or building is being remodeled or rehabbed, that exemption would be determined by me depending on the scope of the work. Some things are going to take longer. I'm not going to grant you 6 months if you're just painting it. So,
Sure.
after said 90 days, or if they have applied for an additional 90-day exemption, if they're actively trying to rent or sell the building, if nothing's been done, then a $200 registration fee would be due. If a business moves in, they will have to remain there for 90 days. If it remains there for 90 days, the business then the building is then removed from the registry. If it is vacated before the 90 days, it remains on the registry. Oh, there we are. So if you get somebody in, we will need to be notified so we can start that clock. On the right there, I kind of gave you a time frame just for visual purposes. So say the notices went out January 1st, January 31st, you'd have to submit the registration form. April 1st is when the $200 fee would be due unless you applied for an exemption. Then in that case, the July 1st would be your $200 registration fee.
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
Okay, so if you're actively looking for someone to fill your space, if you don't have it filled in 90 days, you have to pay a $200 registration fee.
you can apply for the exemption if you are actively promoting, whether advertising, you know, a cardboard
Okay.
box in
So
the,
they
in the
can-
store window
they
for
can-
rent does not, in my opinion, does not classify
Okay.
as actively pursuing.
Okay.
If you're listed on the internet and magazines somewhere, then yes,
Okay.
you'd get an additional 90 days.
Because I know, for example, the landlord next to me at work, he is actively looking, and that's a nice space. Why it's not rented is beyond me, but it is a nice space. And that's why I was concerned, because he did reach out to me wanting to know about this, because he's like, I don't know what else to do to get that space rented. And that's why I was concerned about him, because he's looking. I just didn't know if he would get socked with the $200 if he doesn't get it released in 90 days.
There is an exemption in here. He could come before you and ask for an exemption.
Okay.
I have
Thank
a-
you, thank you.
I have a couple of questions, Andy,
Okay.
if you don't mind. Is this-
Can I go ahead and
You
finish?
certainly
through this,
may.
So then we'll.
I
get
was
to
just
that?
jumping on me.
So I left off on number 3 there. Number 4, after 1 full year on the registry, nothing's been done, nobody's moved in, yep. Then the $800 fee is due. And then every year after that, the fee doubles. So if you get somebody that moves in there for more than 90 days, you're off the registry and you start all over. So, and then there's just the form I've been working on in case this goes through, registration form, where you can see as the exemptions listed on there, provide information, and we'll make our determination then. Yes, Mr. Betts.
I have actually 3 questions and then a comment. What is the problem we're trying to solve? You said to ensure storefront utilization. Are these storefront utilization issues dilapidation and non-compliance, or just empty?
More so just empty.
Okay, let's go this route.
Have no interest in wanting somebody to move in there to rent the space.
Okay, let's go this route then. How many are, we're talking about the downtown?
This would be,
And, go ahead.
originally the one that was submitted to us was just for the C3 zoning district.
Okay,
We went ahead and expanded to any commercial or industrial district.
fascinating. So that part is new to me. Probably my fault for not attending to it, but it's new information. So at any rate, of that new parameter, geographic parameter, about how many are vacant?
Downtown, I'm gonna say maybe 5.
Okay,
Citywide, ones that jump out to me would be the truck terminal up on North Union Street, up by the railroad tracks. Nothing's been in there for years. Mr. Connon's storefront out there, next to
At least
Allstate.
probably 2 years, because he had a chiropractor in there last time.
So.
But I know I personally have showed it for him, and so has his son,
Okay.
trying to get it, leased.
so I got 5 so far. Where are we at? 5 downtown,
The truck terminal on North Union.
okay?
Off the top of my head, Mr. Connon has a storefront out in
Okay.
his plaza out on West High Street.
Okay,
What else would be considered? I don't know if something moved into Chardin or not. I know they were
They
working.
painted
We
it.
have it for sale though too. but
They
I
were
do
working
think-
on something.
for sake of expediency, are we talking generally in terms of 5 to 8 versus 15 to 20?
I'd say more like 15 to 20.
About 15 to 20? So about another 10 to 15 outside the downtown area.
top of my, there's probably more downtown we could get.
Okay?
Dan, do you have
I
any
think-
exact figures off the top of
I
your head?
have the map that Dan gave the engineering department, and if you went by the maroon and the red, which were either has signage but never open or stagnant, or empty and stagnant for 6 months, there were 13.
Okay?
So-
A lot of the ones that are identified, sorry, a lot of the ones that are identified in downtown are actively renovating. Some of those that are on that list that you have here are actively renovating, so they would fall under the exemptions. As far as outside the city, I'm kind of between there, between 10 and 15, I believe, about what you're looking at. And some of those, again, they're actively trying to renovate. And so I think that falls under an exemption.
I'm confused. Are we talking about his 13 plus another 10 to 15 outside? I'm confused. I need to understand numbers or I cannot go forward. Not exact, just general.
General, I'd say, yeah, probably the 13 downtown would be accurate. A lot of those,
Okay?
Dan said,
Are renovating.
would fall under the renovation, which depending on what they're doing would determine how long they would get.
Okay?
Yeah, I want to say I did, this was a month and a half ago, that I
Okay.
did citywide. And yeah, I want to say it was around 10.
Outside of.
Outside of the downtown.
Okay, thank you. And I don't mean to put you, but I can't make determinations on kind ofs. I just, so it's
Right.
very helpful. I'm coming to a close here. So we have about 13 downtown, many of which are being renovated, 10 outside of that. I'm hearing and feel free to correct me, but because this is what I'm hearing. I'm hearing 0 as it relates to ordinance problems. In other words, they need to be shut down because they're dilapidated. They're vacant, but they're still up to code. Is that a correct statement?
Correct.
Okay.
About the only one that we need to look at is the truck terminal up on North Union Street.
Okay. And that's very helpful. Then my general thought at this point, just my general thought at this point, is it kind of feels, I'd like to see maybe, first of all, I appreciate this. I do. And I appreciate trying to balance because I understand what we're trying to accomplish, which is we're trying to upgrade Bryan in terms of its aesthetics and business acumen. I get that. And we're trying to balance that with the fact that we don't want to also deter business coming in. So we're trying to kind of balance
Correct.
that, if that's my general, is that about accurate?
Right.
Okay. So if that's the case, I'm wondering if this ordinance, it's certainly better than what I originally saw a year and a half ago. It wasn't an ordinance, it was more of a proposal. So I appreciate you and others revising it, and it sounds like expanding it as well. I appreciate that. I'm not sure at this point I am willing to get behind some of the detail of this at this point, and I'm wondering, is it possible to have some of the, all can be invited, of the vacant, so that would be maybe 23 people or whatever, owners, and what are your thoughts to make this balance work? How is this balance going to work? Because I think it's not Mr. Rummel, and that's only because he publicly made the statement. I have heard from 3 others over the last year, some of late, some about a year and a half ago, that some of the specifics are a little bit too tight and invasive. They're a little bit too restrictive. And the comment that keeps haunting me is, are we going to do this at the potential of hurting business in the future? And I am a little leery about that. So I'm a little more on the end of, is there something we can do to going forward to see what would work? As an example, so you don't, I'm talking up here. As
And
as an example, could we, I'm just about done, could we have something where we further refine it to extend, instead of 6 months, a year? And after, I'm just making this up, and then after a year, if the person's if the person is renting, or, excuse me, trying to rent or trying to sell, after a year, we institute a fee of $200, and as long as they are trying to continue to rent, the fee stays there. If you are not trying to rent, you're not trying to sell, and you're not renovating, then I think what has been established makes a little more sense to me, because that's a little more punitive to those who are a little more reluctant to go forward. Does that make sense?
Okay.
That's kind of where my thought is.
Yeah,
The only thing I see with that, though, is some of these buildings that are empty on our square, John, have been sitting there for how many years? What difference is it gonna make to them, one way or the other? We need to get some action. You people need to do something with this. I myself, I drive downtown and I think, you know, if I'm gonna open a business, I'm not so sure I would wanna open it where I see all these empty buildings. What does that tell me? I can remember, I'm old, I know that, but I can remember when I was a kid, going up to the square on Friday nights, and we would sit in the car, the Rotary sold popcorn, and we would sit and watch the people walk around the square and eat popcorn. That's how busy Bryan was. You don't see that anymore, and I'll probably never see it again. But I also don't like to drive around and see empty buildings, or a yellow building, or something else like, it's really depressing to me.
I will agree with what John and Judy both say. The thing is I don't like the people that are not trying to fill those buildings. But I feel that the people that are trying to fill those buildings, we're penalizing them.
That's what it feels
With
like.
the first 90 days, and I know, for example, I've talked to 2 building owners today who are very upset with this, who are actively seeking someone to fill that spot, and we're penalizing them with $1,000 a year. And I don't like that part of it, but I do feel that we need to do something to those that are not actively.
But can't they get the exemption? Couldn't you say that if they are actively trying?
They could go from 90 to 100, 180 days.
Right.
And they
But-
can
but
come to
we're
us
also-
and we can extend it.
No,
We're coming
I
out
don't
of a
think you can.
pandemic and may
Can
go
they
back
extend
into a
it?
pandemic. We don't know. How do we sell someone to come to this community right now when we're in a pandemic and hopefully coming out of it? Times are a little different than they were. I mean, I see both sides of it, but I'm just I just don't feel that we should penalize the people that are actively looking right now. But we should do something to those that are using it for storage or just have it just closed up, whatever. Those should definitely, we should do something about those.
No, it does state that they can come.
I think
forward
Russ
and
wants
ask
to
for
say
an extension.
something. Do you,
Okay.
Russ?
Yeah,
Yes.
can Russ use the microphone, Andy?
Yep.
We, for BMU purposes, they like people at the microphone. Thank you.
So, yes, Russ Davies, I'm representing the Bryan Development Foundation this evening. And a couple things, I mean, to John's point, I mean, to me, the first reading, and this is really just starting a conversation about, where do we ultimately go with this? So, we think this is simply a possible solution to the issue. And the solution, John, you asked, what is this really hurting? Judy's your point, it does decrease property values. It makes it less attractive to open a business elsewhere. There's higher potential for damage. Bryan has been very fortunate not to be like Delta or Wasion in experience with a vacant building. You have a higher significance, the insurance side of me. Chance of a fire or something happening in our downtown, which could take as I call it, a tooth out of the smile. That is very important to us. So, and it deprives services and opportunities of somebody else who wants to open a business. So the Bryan Development Foundation, all I really wanted my point mainly tonight is that we're committed to being part of a solution, a positive solution for all those who are involved, be it the building owners, the city itself, potential people, entrepreneurs who want to open a business. We want to engage with those building owners who have said, I'm trying to rent it actively. We've not heard from a lot of them. We have a list of tenants, people that want to start a business in the community. So to what level their engagement is, we don't know yet. So, but we are committed to being a solution in some way, shape, or form for all parties involved to help us go forward. So that's it. couple things. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Russ.
So you're willing, the Bryan Development is willing to work with those vacant property owners to find solutions. Did I hear that?
Yes.
Yeah. See, that's all I'm talking about. And I think, I don't want Judy to leave with a wrong impression, because I think it got lost with some multiple things in here. She was mentioning that, well, after that period, there wasn't, it's just, that's, the end of it is fee. My unless I misread the email that I received today, my understanding is that after that 90 days or 6 months, that's the end.
That's when the fee comes.
That the fee comes, and after that, the fee continues.
Yes.
Yes, I heard that.
Yes.
That I thought that I was hearing that was
So
not going to be the
after
case.
your initial
So-
90 days,
Right.
with the exemptions, if you get 180,
Yeah.
then it'd be a $200 fee. If it sits empty for another 6 months, that's your first year. You're up to 800 right there.
I think, Russ, and I'm certainly very interested in being corrected if I'm wrong, but from my understanding is, I think that the issue is twofold. One, there's a supply-demand issue, which is not enough demand for the supply of people. There's people who are trying to sell and rent. There's people who are trying to sell. I know that. You can't argue with me. They've talked with me. I know there's people trying to sell and rent. And the other side are some people, not so much. I just want to leave it there. Not so much. So what we're trying to do is deal with the not so much people and maybe assist or allow people that are trying to continue on without having such regimented, maybe, rigid pieces. So I would certainly be interested, if it would help, because I don't know who put all of this together, because it's been done well, but I think if the Bryan Development Group would be interested in working with this and coming up with some more acceptable timeframes that balance business with the, maybe I shouldn't use a word, but I'm going to, belligerents. There are belligerent, I mean, come on, there are people, I think Judy said it, and I would agree, who for years don't want to do anything, let it set, whatever. And the problem is, I thought a year ago, we could deal with them through the ordinance issue. But as long as they continue to meet the minimum and keep it up to ordinance, then our hands are a little more tied. So this is another alternative that I would have an interest in and support, if we could allow this balance, a better balance between those who it's a supply-demand issue. I'm trying hard to rent, I'm trying hard to sell, and it's just not working, versus those who are a little more, I'm not going to do anything kind of a thing, and you can't make me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense to me, Jody.
Yes, please.
It's important to me, the timing is really, it sounds somewhat fundamentally like this might not be a bad idea, but it's all about timing. We should not be in a rush to fill those buildings or make it punitive, in the sense that we could end up with occupants we didn't really
Right.
want or desire. So that's, we're extremely sensitive to that. So to me, I think just figuring out the timing, what's appropriate and fair, responsible to the building owners, is the right approach, is the right next answer.
Russ, I think you just
You gotta stay
kind
up.
of
At the state, okay.
well, I just want to say, I think you summed it up. We want to be fair, and that's the big key right here. We're not trying to twist anybody's arm that is trying to do the right thing. It's those people that we feel are not doing the right thing that we want to twist their arm to try to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I would be very open to, if this is not the document that is going to be fair to the people who currently own businesses and are actively trying to rent those businesses and get things going in downtown. Because truthfully, one of the things that I feel you missed in your pluses was the current business owners. The more businesses we have downtown, the more activity we have downtown, and it's going to help them as well. So whatever's going to help current business owners, help those people that have the vacant buildings that want to rent them out, that's what we want to do, as well as try to twist the arms of those people that are not doing what is in the best interest.
Yeah,
of
they
the
need to
city.
be responsible to us and our community as
Yeah.
well.
Absolutely.
There's
Yeah.
certain expectations in
Absolutely.
owning a building, and what
Yep.
are you going to do with it?
And I'm like John, I don't know where this document came from, but as you mentioned, it's kind of a start of a conversation. And just a thought, should we look at bringing some interest groups together to help to modify this document to make it palatable for everybody?
And if you're interested in doing as the Bryan Development Group, that, I'm looking
I
at the
would
mayor here.
prefer that they also communicate with our engineering department
Sure.
and attorney.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
If, I don't want to just say, here, take the blank document,
No.
because it just
Right.
leads, because there's certain laws we have to live within.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think everybody needs to be at the
Yeah.
table.
yeah.
Yeah, we would certainly, I mean, I can speak at the point that we'd be interested in helping. I can't say for the group, yes, we'll do it. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
so,
Yeah, right.
but yeah, we, like I said, we want to be part of
Well, use that silver tongue of yours, Russ.
the solution, yeah. Even through the mask.
No, I would be interested in, because it makes sense to me, business to business, and those business people I trust are gonna say, we need to do that to deal with, I'm gonna say, the harder, stubborn, more belligerent group. We do need to have some structures and parameters.
We need to open up some conversations. If there's somebody who's in a building and they don't know what their options are.
Right.
You know, how do we help them out of something that might have worked for them 20 years ago but doesn't anymore?
Nope.
So we want to figure those out.
I'm good with that.
I think Mr. Yaris wanted to speak.
I just also want to say that we are working in partnership also with BDF. We have a committee that consists of the three of us that are here, that works to identify projects, identifies buildings, trying to match them up. Not being the realtor, but trying to match them up. 30? Wouldn't you say? Probably 30 projects that we have on the table that are either somebody that wants to locate, or a building in our downtown, or a building in our community that somebody wants to have rented. So those are the projects that we have listed. I also want to remind the council, I think most of you were at the Heritage Ohio meeting when they spoke about the Millersburg, Ohio ordinance. That was the ordinance I think that Andy went off of,
Yep.
which is very strong ordinance. It's a very strong one, but she also followed it up. The Heritage Ohio person said, don't go weak with this, or you'll see the weakness come through. So I think you're on the right track. I think putting together some committees, but he did some great work on this. I really commend him on this. It's a great ordinance. It doesn't have all the fluff that Millersburg had in it. I think Andy really narrowed it down, and I really love the way it sounds. If I were to identify projects, John, that I can put 5 projects on my hand that I know this ordinance would fall under. There's others that they're actively trying to rent, strongly trying to rent, trying to renovate, do all the things that I think the ordinance allows that exemption. So that's my personal opinion. I don't know once the ordinance gets going, if it does, but I love what you're talking about. So,
Let me ask you a quick question for you.
yes, sir.
Okay, you say that part of what you do is you have these people that want to run a business, you have these people who have a facility. Speaking in generalities, what would you say is the reason that those two, is it price of the rent? Is it facility makeup? What are the?
Why aren't they
reasons
coming
that those
together
are
is what he
not
wants to
coming
know.
together?
A few of them, they don't want to talk to any renters. Or they've got something in the works. Most of them, they've either got something in the works as far as buildings. They've got something in the works, and some of them are like, I don't want to rent.
Those are the ones that we want to take care of.
Now, as far as the businesses, we continue to reach out to them and say, what is it that you need? What aspects of your business are you looking for? What are you willing to pay in rent? What are you willing to pay for utilities? All this stuff. Size-wise, what are you looking for? So we have Our committee is very diligent. We're meeting twice a month, and we go through this list, and it's very interesting to be on this team. So I'm
If
very,
they only want to sell and not rent, I'm okay with that too, as long, because I'm not saying trash this. I don't believe anyone heard me say trash it. I said refine it. And the part in there that states that if you aren't trying to actively rent or actively sell within, and I really like that part, that said fair market value. If you're trying to sell this building for 2.5 million and it's worth 100,000, that's not fair market value. You're never going to sell it. So my response is, I'll use your term, strong arm that. I have no problem. Leave my people alone that are trying to rent.
Oh,
Leave my
absolutely.
people alone that are trying to sell it. I mean, let them do their thing, and if you can connect them, all the better. Does that make sense?
I thought the ordinance kind of covered that a little bit, John. I think what you're talking about is maybe extend the timeline, more or
Yeah.
less, for those that are actively trying to rent, which is exactly what Russ was talking about, is
Saying
getting
they
our
have
group.
An exemption if they're doing that in fair market rent or sale rent.
Yes, if they're trying, well, and I'm saying maybe a year
They're not
versus,
responsible for the fee, but if they're asking 2 million, like you said, and the building's only worth 100,000, then
yes, yes.
And I'll use Terry Rummel as an example. I don't know if he's still on the phone. He is actively renovating that building, and he is actively always trying to rent his buildings. I know that because I can call on him when I have a lead. I can call Terry and say, hey, you got anything? And he's like, yeah, I'll set you up with this one or that one. Or, you know what, I've already got that one taken care of. And I'm not putting words in Terry's mouth, but he's one that I could go to that I know is willing to work with people. And I think that's commendable on his part, so. Is he still on the call?
Yes, we just.
Mayor, can I address that?
You may.
The biggest problem with renting the buildings and doing the renovation is government gets in my way, and they don't bring a checkbook to get in my way. And I think I've told Dan and I've told the mayor this and things, and if we could figure out a way to help our business owners and the ones that want to, and I know we have a problem with a couple, three that don't, but it's so hard to fund these projects and to try to get over the hump of all of the things in the way to be able to do it. So, John, to answer your question, the hardest part of doing this and why we don't rent buildings and why we don't remodel them and they're not all built beautiful is because government is just plain in the way. And we could do it without the state and things that are, and that's my only fear with this ordinance, is that it's going to create, now, if everybody that's sitting at this table today does it the way I believe you would do it, I think it'd be a great thing. But I know in 20 years, my kids are going to be taxed with an ordinance that now it's interpreted differently, and we don't have the lenience here, and my fear is it would be read wrong. But I like Russ's idea of coming up with and that group engaging. I've been in a couple meetings with that group, and they're on the right track where they're saying of bringing in a new group of people and creating an own building inspectors and doing some things like that. That's going to relieve me from the state of Ohio and trying to deal with where I can go down and sit in Andy's desk and say, hey, what do you think about this? So that's my take on that. Thank you.
Yeah, and I would like to add, I've engaged with a few business owners as well. And one of the common undercurrents I heard from really responsible people that have invested in buildings currently renovating is, we've spent a really long time being picky about who we got on this first floor, and if you put this ordinance in, we might not be as picky and not spend as much time because they feel like they're racing up against a clock. And that is one worry I have. That's certainly not going to help BDF's initiative or the chambers or the cities if people are just renting to any type of business that may not be beneficial to the downtown or the city or the community. And so that's something I think we need to be cautious of. And I agree with Terry on this. I think that's something that when you hear a county commissioner saying, government gets in my way as a business owner, you do have to listen to that and make sure that we don't create those issues for our really responsible people. Because the truth is, it's an investment that can be risky when you are remodeling an old building, and you want to make sure that you honor the people that are. With that being said, some of the vacant buildings are not helping the people that are their neighbors and keeping up their property values. So I understand that. But I do want to make sure I encourage council, whatever you do and it pass or not pass, that we do look 20 years down the road so that there aren't those unintended consequences when we are not at the table anymore. I think we have a responsibility for the future of Bryan to make sure we try to foresee those as much as we can.
Well, I'm looking forward to an ordinance coming from the Bryant Development Foundation, Chamber of Commerce, and Andy, Bryan, you, Rhonda. You know, I'm looking forward to that because I think that's going to end up balancing the only thing I'm talking about, which is being fair but firm. I have no problem with firm. I've never had a problem with firm. I don't think I've had a problem with fair, but it just feels like right now it's a little out of whack. Not a lot, just a little.
One question, Mr. Rummel is still on. Question for him and anybody else who wants to comment. What, if you're a building owner and it's renovated, ready to go, move in, what kind of time frame are you looking at to get somebody in there?
What kind of a
Sit
what?
empty for a year?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Terry, Andy asked, if you're a building owner and you've completed the renovation process, what kind of time frame do you think you need as a downtown building owner to get a good tenant in there? What's a reasonable time frame? Because it took you how long to get Creative Minds in there?
I think a year. I mean, I've had a building set empty a year that I was actively trying and I just couldn't find anything. You know, the restaurant set empty how many times? If this was during a pandemic, I mean, now we're pandemic driven. Before the pandemic, it was tough to keep that restaurant rented. Now afterwards, I've been pretty fortunate, honestly, on keeping them rented, but I've had one building set up to a year where I felt like I was, you know, unfortunately I was still paying a mortgage at that time and it was painful. I didn't need any more pain trying to get it, and I was trying to not rush in and rent it to just anybody, and I did a couple times. You know, I had a used clothing store in, and that was where Edward Jones was. That building was kind of a train wreck to stay rented, and it wasn't a bad building. And then Edward Jones come in and threw a bunch of money at it and kind of saved me because I couldn't put the renovation in and charge them the kind of money that they wanted. But that kind of saved me on that building. But a lot of our buildings need a very drastic facelift, if nothing else, to be able to make them rentable. Otherwise, you just get the same used clothing store, no offense, but there's some of that stuff that just didn't work for me. I wish that kind of thing would have worked, but it didn't for me. So I would say a year.
And if I could add to that, my response would be, I think that's a good shot, and you're talking to somebody who would know much more than I about that time frame. But I'd like to toss in there, I think a lot of it has to do with the market at the time.
I agree, the timing of this is
Yeah, I
not
mean,
very
it's a
good.
timing issue in terms of what's the supply and demand for that available stuff. I'm more concerned about, there is a demand, but you're being over belligerent in terms of what you want. Those are the ones that I'm more concerned about. So I think there's a supply and demand. Who makes that call? I don't think it comes to council. I think it's more of a situation that, I don't know if Bryan developed, I don't know who, but it's a matter of, hey, look, you've got a year, like Terry just said, you've got a year from this point, or here are your other options. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yeah, that would be, because you need some leeway in terms of market, or God forbid, another pandemic or whatever, because you don't know what's going to happen. That's going to create a problem. That's
Yeah,
legitimate.
And I'm not suggesting we start this tomorrow.
Yeah.
No. So, all right.
What's the majority of the second floors look like?
Well, that's not actually covered in here.
Yeah, this ordinance is just for first floor.
Okay, I get that, but I'll leave that alone. Okay.
I know.
Yeah.
There's some people that are renovating into apartments. Some people are using them for storage. Some people are, you know, and it's hard because there is fire code, especially if there's a third story. It makes it very expensive for them to do any work on that if they get too far removed, especially in the older buildings. But most of the zoning that we deal with is for the main floor. And it cannot be residential, like there's certain things with that. And I don't know that the Bryan community is far enough, out of the pandemic, or that we have enough investors available to start requiring them to put hundreds of thousands into a second floor. I understand that, because I think we all would like downtown housing, but none of us have actually said, okay, here's my $200,000.
Yeah.
Which I think is a fair number. Is that right, Terry?
That'd be pretty accurate.
Thanks.
And parking's the next issue when you have all of those downtown, because I have some, and it's really difficult to find places for the people to park. So you gotta address the parking too, but I think it's doable. I mean, it's just, boy, it's expensive. And there seems to be no money. Carrie and I have worked really hard on trying, and even as commissioner, I know I'm exempt from a lot of that, which is fine, but we were trying for another person that owned a building, and we just kept hitting the block walls on how do we find this money that's out there to help these business owners, because that's what's gonna drive it, is we need the grant money to come in, you know, a 50-50 match or something. I think you could get a lot of traction, but we're just struggling on coming up with that, so.
And now council knows Terry's usually my go-to commissioner for that, because I figure if I team up with him in the beginning and go after the state, if they don't like the mayor's response, they might like the commissioners or vice versa. So he and I have for the last at least year and a half tried to locate dollars on a federal or state level, and just worked really hard at that and keep getting hit by wall after wall.
But I think downtown would become more what Judy was saying, is if we could figure out a way, back in the good old days, you could go in and remodel a building for, you know, 30 grand and you can make a beautiful building out of it. Well, now you're at 200 and you're still getting the same amount for it. So it's cost benefit, and there's just not enough there. And I've said it 100 times that the downtowns will not thrive without some state either back off from the regulations, which I know is not going to happen, or some money that goes along with us so that we can afford to do it.
I will mention, there is a $400,000 grant that the state of Ohio offers. Carrie is very familiar with this, but it is very competitive. The chamber and the city received it in 98 and also in 2006, I believe, $400,000 grant. That's when they were awarding 7 of those in the state of Ohio. They are now awarding only 2. It's very competitive. I've researched it. I can't apply for it personally as a chamber. It has to be applied for by the city, and I know it's a lot of work.
Actually, Dan, Terry and I have been working on that, and we do have 3 downtown business owners that are applying to split it. But it has to go through the county, which is again why sometimes Terry and I tag team, because if the city can't get it done. So there is an active engagement right now between the city, the county, and 3 downtown Bryan business owners and Maumee Valley Planning. The submission, I think, is due in June. So we, Terry, about 8 months? We've been trying to work
Right,
through
so
that.
then you go back to what's your time frame on being able to accomplish
Right.
something. You know, these people have been 8 months into it, and we're still not broken ground or got a permits or anything. We're just trying to get to the funding side of it,
Yeah,
8 months in, so.
Very, very difficult to apply for those grants. They're few and far between. I will also say that most of the regulations that some of the building owners and business owners are dealing with are not city ordinances. These are statewide ordinances. Am I correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
Or
So-
Department of Interior if
Yeah.
there's federal dollars attached to any state money, which is really tricky.
So what do we need to do with
That's what I
5
was
here?
going to ask. What do we need to
I
do
think,
here?
Rhonda, can you suggest something for council as far as moving forward? Since the ordinance has been read?
Do you want to pass this just as a first reading? And then do you want revisions? I think you need to give us a little bit of leeway or a little bit of direction of if you want some revisions, we can bring it back.
Mr. Hoopy suggested maybe they table it, make a motion to table it, and then we revise and bring it back.
That's also an option. That's probably the best way.
Okay.
I like that better.
How do we do that, Rhonda?
Just make a motion to place it on the table.
Okay.
I motion we table it.
I'll second.
John,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Judy,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Mary.
Yes.
Thank you, and now Lori will keep that original in her coffers for however long we all need. Is that okay?
Yes.
Thank you.
Lori, will you please read the next resolution?
Resolution number 12, 2021, a resolution suspending the designated outdoor refreshment area, DORA, for downtown Bryan during the 2021 Bryan Jubilee.
Yes, council, I know that this has been a topic within the community, the DORA, the implementation of DORA, and what would happen during Jubilee. So you do have a resolution in front of you that would temporarily suspend the DORA for a period of up to 7 days, basically from noon on June 17th to 11 p.m. on June 19th, 2021 during the Jubilee. So you guys can discuss.
You know, as I've mentioned before, I'm a proponent of the DORA. I think it's something that may help to generate some activity downtown. I think we saw when we were discussing this that there are people on both sides of this issue, and it was actually a little more contentious than what I thought it would be. And with that in mind, I feel that it would be best to not have it during the Jubilee. Let this play out, let people see what direction this goes. It has a 1-year life at this point, and then we're gonna revisit it at the end of the year. If everything is good, then we can look at allowing it during this time in the future. But I just feel that this first year, it would be best if we did not have the DORA available at that time.
I have to agree with Rick on that.
Yep. And just to add, I think there's some geographical changes that took place around the square also that it's probably best to give it some time.
Well, we're not sure. Mary and I are gonna
Yes.
actually meet with the commissioners on Thursday.
Yep.
In open session about that.
But we're voting today.
No, I mean about the geographical
No,
changes.
I know,
Yeah, but we're
but we're
voting on-
voting today.
Yes.
So from my perspective, based on today's information, I
Sure.
think it's best to,
Oh, Terry, are you, oh, no, he went muted. I wasn't sure.
so I'll move to, what would this be,
Suspend.
suspend?
I-
Go ahead.
I have a question. Do I ask this after they voted on this? If we don't suspend it, if we do the 3 readings, could we wait until after they've met with the commissioners
I think
and then have the second reading at the next meeting?
I think part of the topic too from the community was when there was definitely things like games in a midway and kid-friendly events that people were really not wanting the DORA in
Okay.
play. But look, it's a resolution. You guys get to vote on it. I don't.
So he suspended?
I did.
Yes.
Okay. I'll second.
John,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Judy,
Yes.
Rick,
Yes.
Mary.
Yes. We don't need a motion to approve it?
We do.
Okay. So I thought.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Rick,
Yes.
Judy,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Mary.
Yes. Item number 7, Lori, will you please number and read?
Resolution number 13, 2021. Resolution authorizing participation in the ODOT road salt contracts awarded in 2021.
Good evening, council. This is our annual resolution to purchase frac road salt, ODOT. And we'll buy the same amount next year that we bought this year, which was 900 tons, or what we'll request. So, and it's, every year that we've been in this program, it's worked out great for us. So I ask that you approve it.
I'll motion to approve, Jim.
To suspend.
I'll motion to suspend.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Jim?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes,
Rick?
Yes,
Mary?
Yes.
I'll motion to approve.
I'll second.
Judy?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Thank
Item
you.
no, Item number
Thank you.
8.
Thanks, Tyson.
Thanks, Jason. Item number 8, Lori, will you please number and read?
Resolution number 14, 2021. A resolution authorizing the clerk-treasurer to advertise for bids for the project known as 2021 Avenue A Area Sanitary Improvements.
Good evening, everyone. You're presented with asking permission here to bid the Avenue A sanitary sewer project. It was a budgeted item. We're looking at around $350,000. It'll be in the rear yard areas, west of Avenue A, south of High Street. So we're going to make a few neighbors happy there, but it's an area where we've had some issues. We just need to keep working west in this area. So again, it was budgeted, and with this, I will ask that you suspend the rules and authorize me to advertise for bids.
Now, this will be digging it up and as opposed to, I know there were some areas that you did some burst piping and things like that. Will this?
Yeah, this will be a pipe bursting. So what we do is we slip a new line in the old line, but we have to dig up everyone's taps. So we still have to get in the backyard and make like a 10 by 10, 10 by 20 hole in their backyard to find their tap and get hooked back up. But it won't be, complete obliteration of the neighborhood like some projects would be. It's still gonna be a mess. We're still gonna make people unhappy, but it's old clay sewer and it needs fixed. So we'll just keep whittling away at them.
I move to suspend.
I'll second.
Judy?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
John?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes. Item number 9, Lori, will you please number and read?
Resolution number 15, 2021. A resolution authorizing the clerk-treasurer to advertise for bids for the project known as 2021 Rudy Party Way Pavement Overlay and Repairs.
Okay, so this project actually was not budgeted. So when we award it, I'm going to ask for an appropriation on this, but it is an Ohio Public Works project that we will get the grant agreement in July to proceed with this. But the cost of materials are going up right now, so what we want to do is we want to get this project bid, but we can't award it until after July, until we get the grant agreement. So at that point in time, I'll come back to you with the final project numbers, actually what the bid numbers are, and I'll ask for a small appropriation for it, and we will get 39% of the project back in Ohio Public Works funds. When I did the estimate, it was about $441,000, but that was anticipating, several areas of full depth repair on Brunicardi Way where the pavement is cracked real bad. So what we'll do is we're readdressing that right now, and we'll fine tune the bids here in the next couple weeks and get it out on the streets. But again, we will not award until after July, until we get the contract, until we get the grant agreement back and executed from Ohio Public Works. But I do want you to suspend the rules and allow me to advertise for bids for this. If something comes back in that we can't afford it, we can reject the bids. I don't see that happening, but there is still an out with that.
I'll motion to suspend.
I'll second.
Jim?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Rick?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes. Item number 10, Lori, will you please number and read?
Resolution number 16, 2021. A resolution authorizing the clerk-treasurer to advertise for bids for the project known as 2021 Bryan Senior Center Parking Lot Improvements.
If you've been down to the senior center lately, you'll see that the pavement's getting pretty bad in the parking lot there. A lot of cracks in it. The building is, 25 years old probably in that time frame. So the pavement definitely has lasted. There is a fund available through the Bryan Area Foundation. There's a long-term large maintenance fund, and we're anticipating that they can distribute $100,000 as a donation towards the city when we're ready to award this project. Now, I'm estimating it at about $125,000 to do this. So we'll have to use $25,000 of our budgeted monies to take care of this, which I have a parking lot line item, so we should be able to take care of that. and throw it together with the funds from the Bryan Area Foundation that will be gifted to the city. They recommended that I go ahead and bid the project, and when I get my bids in, they'll secure the grant funds towards us, we'll accept the donation, and then we can award the project. So we'd like to get that done this summer as well. So with that, I would ask you suspend the rules and authorize me to proceed with bidding.
Move to suspend?
I'll second.
John?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
I move to approve, Jim.
Second?
Jim?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank
Brian.
you.
Thanks,
Thank
Brian.
you.
Item number 11, a resolution. Lori, will you please number and read?
Resolution number 17, 2021, a resolution authorizing the fire chief of the city of Bryan to apply for grants for the city of Bryan Fire Department.
Good evening, council. We would like to apply for the MSA DuPont Globe Gear Giveaway through the National Volunteer Fire Council. There's an opportunity for us to potentially receive 4 sets of turnout gear from that. That's roughly $10,000 worth of turnout gear. And we'd also like to apply for the Leary Firefighters Foundation. That grant could be anywhere between $2,500 and $25,000. I would ask that council suspend the rules and allow us to go ahead and apply for these grants.
I'm always for free money, so I'll move that we suspend.
I'll second.
Rick?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Move to approve.
Thank you.
Second?
Judy?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes. Up next, item number 12, we had a status form from the police department.
Good evening. I'm here to request Zachary Mersdorf. He's completed his 12 weeks of training, and we'd like to get him to the pay range 12, which is a raise. He actually completed this a while back, and through some fumbling, we did not change him over that, but we're asking to do that now.
I'd like to, how much does this add up to? Can you tell me? How much?
I've not added the hours up. One of the reasons that with this, Zach was hired as a part-time officer, and he still has to do the 12-week training. And doing it in part-time increments, we didn't know when he was going to be done. That was one of the hiccups in all this. So I could not tell you the exact amount that were in the back for it.
But 50 cents is like $1,000 a year, right? So that should help answer it. It's about $1,000 a year. I think he was thinking the exact amount.
I'll motion to approve.
I'll second.
Jim?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes. Item number 12, item number 13 is request to hire from the police.
We've had a subject come in, Andrea Henry. We're recommending that we hire her as part-time fire dispatcher, contingent on passing her 12-week training period also. We are going to keep an eye on it. It's going to be the same thing as Zach did. It's going to take a 12-week, but that's at full-time hours, and she's going to be working part-time hours, so it's going to take longer than 12 weeks. So we are asking that we have permission to hire her off that.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
John?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes. Item number 14 is a status form from the police, from the street department.
Can I say one more thing before I leave?
Yep.
Before Tyson. I'm just going to give you a quick update while I got the mic. My grant that I put in for at the beginning of the year through the state, I just want to give you guys an update on that. We were awarded a best grant through the state of Ohio. for $5,858. And so we're going to go ahead, just to let you guys know, we're going to accept that, and that's where I'm at with my grant.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, I just want to
Thank
say that the police cars look fantastic too, by the way. The new lettering.
What's that?
The new lettering
Yep.
on the police cars, really nice.
We're hoping to get them out and about. As soon as we get the cameras installed and they're fully functioning, we'll have photos posted, and I'm sure the mayor will post something on the city's websites. But we've heard a lot of good feedback about
Yep.
it. It's just hopefully just a short matter of more time, and we got them out and everybody's seeing them. The guys
Great
really
job.
like them.
We've had a little bit of a supply issue with, just like everybody else, so it's taking time to get some of the pieces together.
I think you're good, Tyson.
Okay. On March 9th, which we need to clean up just like Chris just had to, Greg Temple completed his 1-year probation as our equipment maintenance mechanic at the street department. So I'm asking that you take him off probation, and then he too will be paid retroactively to March 9th to his new rate.
I move to approve.
I'll second.
Jim?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes. Up next, item number 16, request to hire for parks.
Yeah, I've got like 3 more things here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I only have one.
Next up is, I'm asking to hire Corey Holbert at the recycling center as a vehicle operator trainee. He's passed all of his background checks and physicals. And if you approve him, he can start tomorrow.
Move to approve?
I'll second.
John?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Mary?
Oh, I do have them. Thank you. Yes, sorry.
Okay, next is hiring the 2 part-time employees at the cemetery, Jerry Lemons and Bill Doherty. They've worked out there for, I think it's going on 5 and 6 years.
I'll move to approve because Jerry and Bill do an excellent job out there. I'm out there quite with some frequency. And last year through the pandemic, I had people calling me, and I heard there were other people calling the mayor about how they missed them. So I just want to put a shout out. I move to approve, but I want to put a shout out to both of them. You were missed last year.
I'll second.
John?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
And lastly, I think you guys have this letter that I wrote to the mayor requesting to hire Gary Hussey on a 30-day hire. He's the one that resigned from the recycling center full-time. And then after that council meeting, he asked if we wanted him to come in and work part-time. He works 5 hours a day until we got that position filled and that guy trained. So that started on March 8th. So we're getting close to the end of that 30 days. I guess, do you need another letter from me, or can I just ask that he continue on working part-time as needed?
I'm personally fine with council supporting the extension of this and just allowing him to stay on part-time. I think that he adds a lot of hours. The recycling and street department has definitely changed since the pandemic. We do not have access to trustees from CCNO as we did in the past. And I think that we all in the community can kind of tell that that's happening. So to lose another recycling employee would be hard for that department. So if we can.
Yeah, I've noticed about a 3-hour difference in terms of pickup. Is that, I assume that was,
Yes.
and that's not a complaint, but I just wanted to reinforce that, so.
Yeah, I think if Gary's willing to do it, I'll approve it.
Same one. Yep.
I'll second.
Jim?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Thank you for all of it. That's all I have for now.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Tyson.
Tyson.
Item number 16, request to hire for parks.
Good evening, council. Hopefully everybody can hear me.
Yep.
Yes.
In front of you, you should have a letter requesting to hire Russ Davies as a seasonal part-time employee for the Parks and Recreation Department. He will work on courts crew that will work on flowers and flower gardens, and then also trees. This position is budgeted for and was approved through our budget.
So Ben, I'm gonna just make two comments. Just for everyone on council, it's not the Russ Davies that was just here, it's his father. And two, what's the score of the game?
Yeah, apparently.
I'm having a tough time hearing you, Mayor.
Oh, I said, what's the score of the game?
Oh, it just ended.
Okay. All right, so Council Ben is asking that you approve that part-time hire.
I move to approve.
Second.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
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 Thanks, Ben.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you
Ben.
very much.
Now's the time where we go around the room and ask if anybody has anything to say. Does anyone from the city have anything to say they'd like to add? If not, then we will go on to BMU. Anyone from BMU? I guess not. So, John, you are in the hot seat. You're on the
Okay, all
end.
right, all right. I just wanted to thank, I did it then, I just want to make sure that I overkill this. I want to thank Andy and Watterson and all those who worked on the storefront document. I appreciate that and look forward to even a more refined one. Also, Chief Siders, Chief Chappa, and Bryan for your work on the grants. That does not get overlooked. We all on council are very appreciative of anything that helps the city of Bryan out, both financially and aesthetically. So thank you all for that. That's it.
Thank you, John. Judy?
Ditto with what John said. I also would like to say congratulations to all the new employees that have been rehired and put on full-time. I'm not going to name you because there were too many. Also, we had a little problem down in my neighborhood. Quite a few of the city employees helped with that, and I just want to say thank you to all of you. It's been taken care of. Thank you very much.
Good.
Thank you, Judy. Rick, do you have anything?
Pretty much the same thing. I just want to, along with John, I want to thank Andy. I don't want him to feel like it was not appreciated what he put together for us. I just feel like maybe some tweaking needs to be done, and I think that we'll come back with a good plan. So just want to thank him for all of his efforts in that.
Thank you, Rick. Jim, do you have anything?
I want to thank Andy as well. It's nice to see that we're actually talking about our downtown and our city as a whole. I think that's the greatest thing we can do. I think we need to take it a step further and actually devise a strategic plan or revitalization plan for our downtown and get the whole community involved in this whole situation. I think then we can truly start to move our city forward. With that said, I'd like to welcome everybody and thank everybody for their new service, and everybody be safe.
Thank you. Rhonda, do you have anything? I'm going to say probably not. She's frozen. She's frozen. She's frozen right now. Lori, do you have anything?
I'd just like to remind the citizens of Bryan that we follow the federal extension on the tax filing deadlines. We're out to May 17th as well.
Thank you. Mayor, do you have anything?
I do have a couple things. First of all, I want to add to thanking Andy, Rhonda, and Bryan, who also worked really hard on that ordinance to try to clean it up. And then Andy, when he realized this morning that there was some controversy to it, he put that PowerPoint presentation that I had struggled with together very quickly, so I appreciate that. I wanted to add for the Parks Department, last year during the pandemic, the governor did require us to close restrooms. The pools, he said he didn't, but he really did, and then playground equipment. However, it goes through a natural winterization starting the first week of November until the first week of April. So we will be this week opening up the restrooms. We will be leaving them open with a sign, kind of a, look, COVID's a thing, so enter at your own risk. We'll clean them as frequently as we can. And so that process will be starting tomorrow. So we want to make sure the public knows that the reason we haven't turned them on yet this year is literally the winterization. We had snow on Thursday. The pipes are all in the walls at the concession stand, so if they freeze, we're going to have a really expensive issue. So we do have to wait for the weather to cooperate. So even though Sunday was nice, we didn't have employees working on Easter Sunday. So I just wanted to make sure the public knew that. Appreciate all of the part-time hires that we've been able to have step up and serve Bryan. Obviously at the cemetery, that Jerry and Bill have been doing a great job for a number of years, and we certainly did miss them. And in fact, actually did end up hiring them back partway through when we checked the budget and got it done. And then I think Chief Chapa, or if Rhonda's still on, were one of you going to make a statement about the fraud with unemployment as far as our procedure? I don't know if they're still there. I think if they don't pop on, I just want the public to know that there is a process. If you call us, we can send you to the website or the phone number you have to give through the state. JFS was not working through the process very quickly, and I think we're telling people just to make local complaints at their police department, but that's not actually what the state government wanted us to do. So we're trying to clear some of those conversations because the higher-ups were telling us that they wanted us to actually send them to the state phone number or website, and so there's been a little bit of communication issue with the public who's getting that mixed in with the police department who's being told not to do that and to go a different route. So Ron, is that fair? In a really general glazed overview?
I'm sorry, my internet went down. You're gonna have to re-ask me the question.
So I was just kind of updating council on the confusion that has happened when some of the JFS employees at the state told our community members that were in the fraud issue situation to make a police report at their local police department, that we have actually been instructed by the state to actually have them not do that and send them to the website or phone number within JFS. And I just wanted to clear that up for the public, and I know I'm muddling through that because I don't have the website access right now.
That is true. Unfortunately, I am one of those victims, and we were directed to their website to fill out a form that gives them the complaint that we have been a victim of fraud. And so that is the method for which to make the complaint, not taking it to your local police department. It has to go through their form complaint.
How did that work? How did that work for you, Rhonda?
You'll hold for a long time, so the best thing is really to get online and fill out the form.
Yeah, I think we need to tell the public that as well, because they're going to be frustrated. I've heard from a number of people
frustrated.
who think that I can fix this. The city, county, we cannot fix the fact that the State Department of Human Services is not responding either on their website or on their phone. And I've had a number of people tell me that they've waited literally hours on the phone.
Yeah, my husband was a victim too, and it was the same thing, and he actually handed the phone to his office manager and said, look, just come get me in a treatment room when they actually answer. So we know it's a frustrating situation, and it certainly would be easiest if you could just go to your local police station and make the report, but then they don't take it from us either at the state level.
Right.
So it's really just a waste of our citizens' time, and it's a frustration layer. So I just want to make sure the public knows the police department isn't turning you away because they're not trying to serve you. They're turning you away from that because they know that that's not the proper route the state wants you to actually go. Anything to add to that, Chief or Rhonda?
No, I think that's fine.
Okay.
Anything else? Rhonda, do you have anything else you want to add? You were frozen when I asked you.
Yes, I'm sorry. No, I have nothing
All right,
else.
thank you. Because I don't like duplicate stuff, I'm going to agree with everything everybody here said, except I'm going to throw in that I just want to thank all the department heads for everything you guys do, because I know you juggle a lot of hats, and we really appreciate what you do. With that, we're going to take a short recess and go into executive session to discuss compensation of personnel and acquisition of property.